reason I sent those. Not that they were bad, but the first one was really like it was pretty technically sound for working with him. But the second one was just a monsters ball match, so it wasn't really anything that I could be like, yeah, I'm a good wrestler. We were just using thumbtacks and smacking each other with dead end signs and stuff. But yeah, I sent the Abyss matches. I think I sent the Kazarian match. I mean, there's definitely other ones that I've had that I wish I could have had back then to send. But I really, more so than anything else with WWE, I just kept calling them. I was more annoying with calling them. I would call. I told you this. I would call, sometimes once a week, sometimes twice a week, every other day. Like I just kept calling. It was at a point where I was kind of like, crap or get off the pot. I've been wrestling for I think 7 years at that point. 5 or 7 years, something like that. And I had taken a year break, and I was kind of like, if I'm going to do this now, even though I was young, I was just kind of like, if I'm going to do this, it's got to be now. I got to start pursuing this because like it's not going to come to me. A lot of indie guys, not indie guys, but a lot of guys that I've known, especially the guys from the church, they were all very like, well, if I just keep wrestling on in the indies, somebody's going to see me and they're going to call me. That was what a lot of guys thought, and I kind of got like that, like brainwashed me a little bit to be like, yeah, Vince will call me. Like, you know what I mean? Like how stupid that sounds, but that's where they were at. Like guys were just like, if I keep lacing up boots, they're going to think I'm a wrestler and they're going to call me. And I remembered, years ago watching like something with Stone Cold, and he was like, it's not going to fall in your lap. You got to go pursue it, and that was what always stuck in my head. And I just applied it to going to wrestling school and training. And then I was like, I got to just pursue them. Like they might be saying, don't call us. It ain't going to work. But I got to do it because how many guys are sending videos? You know what I mean? Like, what are the odds they're going to watch mine? Out of all the guys that were sending videos and all that stuff. So yeah.
So then you're sending in tapes. So how did it actually happen for you? Where did they have you come down to Florida? Like, what was the contact like with WWE when you first got a shot with them?
So I called. So here's how it worked, and I'll try to be as brief as I can. I tend to run on sometimes, but
dude, that's radio, man. You take as long as you like.
Right,
I'm not attractive. I mean, people are not looking at this; they're listening to you, man. So go ahead, whatever you got.
A lot of it has to do with the chair shot. So sometimes I might just run on, sometimes. But so pretty much, I was at an indie show. I think it was NYWC. It was at their building, so I'm pretty sure it was them. And there was this guy there. I'm not going to say his name because I don't want to put him over because he's kind of like a jerk. But he he had just
burning bridges 101. Sweet. No, I'm just kidding.
No, there's no bridges to burn with him. I don't even think he's in the business anymore. But he had gotten an extra spot, so I overheard him and a buddy of mine talking about it. So I kind of just eased into the conversation and slid over, and I was like, "Oh yeah, that's awesome, man." I said, "So who did you speak with again?" Because I had filled out, and I never did. I was like, I had filled out an application on the whatever that website's called, the WWE Recruit website. So I'm like, yeah, I filled out an application. I haven't heard anything. He goes, "Oh yeah, the website's down." So that was like my first all right, click. I'm gonna keep that in my head. And then I was like, and I said, yeah. So you called that? So I just threw this out there. So you called that lady, right? He goes, yeah. I said, what was her name again, man? I'm drawing a blank. And he told me her name. So I kept that in my head. And I remembered hearing a long time back that everybody's email address there is their first name, period, their last name, at, the rest of it, .com. So I had that in my head, and I knew what it was. So I kept that. And then when I got home that night, I sent her this email. Hey, I had filled out on recruit.com, but I heard from someone that the website's down. Can I just go directly through you? And she sent me an email back the next day. Absolutely, no problem. We're really sorry about that. So what you do, it was honestly just, being a Christian. It was divine intervention. It was God. You know what I mean? God for me.
That sounds like being a detective. That's tremendous. What a great way to get in. That's awesome.
I should have been a cop. So that worked, and then I was right. I got contact now, and at the bottom of every email it says their phone number or their extension. Most of them, not all of them, but it did in that case. So I sent everything over, waited like 2 weeks, called, yeah, called again, yeah. At first I was doing it every month, then I started doing it every other week, then I started doing it every other day. Sorry. My battery's getting low. So I started doing it then every other day, and I eventually, I think I just annoyed them. Honestly, I don't think it had anything to do with my matches. I don't think it had anything to do with my promos. Maybe my promos. I had a pretty good promo, and the only reason why was because I was the kid in school that like sat in the back of the class. I made a deal with my teacher that I never had to do book report presentations. I didn't like standing up in front of the class. I would do it for them in private afterwards. So I said to myself, when I get into wrestling, no matter where I go, I would tell the promoter, give me the mic and give me 2 minutes. And 2 minutes is like an eternity to talk in wrestling. So maybe it had a little to do with that, but I was also annoying the heck out of her. So she just was like, okay, you look at our schedule, you tell me what you want to come to, and you're on. And I was like, damn, that was easy, you know? So I just like right away I went on a laptop and I was like, okay, I looked at the events and the first thing I saw that said comma NY next to it, I just was going with that one. And of course it was Buffalo and Albany. But I was like, whatever, it's WWE. Right? So
And for people that aren't from Long Island or New York, like just because it's New York doesn't mean it's around the block. Like Buffalo and Albany are like literally probably 5 to 6 hours from where you and I are from. So that's not exactly around the corner.
Yeah, Buffalo was 8 hours, and then Albany was I think 2.5 from there. So then it was what 5 hours back home after Albany. Yeah, but I mean like that was the stuff though that I expected going into the business. Like, cool, I get to do these long road trips. I'm going to drive long hours. Like that was the one thing besides getting booked on the Indies, like outside of Long Island every once in a blue. I I was like, yeah, this is the one thing I haven't experienced yet. You know that I read about and watched and I wanted to be a part of. So I didn't even really care. It was kind of cool. And so I sent those back and she was like, okay, you're on. But they were like 3 months away. So there was no contact after that. So I was kind of concerned. So then, like I think maybe 2 weeks before, I got a phone call. Hey, we want to, and they gave me the whole rundown. You got to go here, see this person, go there, do this, don't talk to that person, see this guy, and I was like, I literally like I grabbed like a little like a post-it and I was like writing down everything she was saying, and like I couldn't even fit it all. I think I still have like I was like one of those things I saved. I'm one of those guys like I still have the ticket for my first wrestling match. Like I save. I'd like to save stuff, so I wrote all the stuff down, and then that night and here's a cool story like to that. So that night I was like, all right, I planned it out. I didn't. This is how like experienced I was sarcastically at doing this stuff. I never booked a hotel. I was just like, I'll find one out there and I'll just go drive there and see if they have. And it was like one right up the road from the arena too. Like how stupid, right? So I drove out there with like $50. That's all I had in my account was $50, and I had this other money that was supposed to clear, and they said it was going to clear like that Monday. So it was like Sunday night. So I had left like maybe 3 a.m. Sunday night, Monday morning, And as I'm driving out, I had maybe a half a tank of gas, and I think I made it to like I want to say like Scranton, PA, and all of a sudden I'm like, all right, I pulled into a gas station, pulled out my phone, checked my account, and the money had cleared at like 4 o'clock in the morning or 5 o'clock, whatever it was, 5 o'clock in the morning, and I was able to get gas and keep going. So I did that, and I'm just gonna grab a charger for my phone. Sorry. I did that, and from there, just give me 1 sec, guys. Sorry, I just want to. I don't know if I'm edit this once it comes through. Is your phone charger?
No, we're live. It's straight.
Right. That's what that little yellow block says, right?
No, man, this is like true life, right?
Yeah.
Like true life. I'm on the On That Long Wrestling podcast. I can't imagine. Like, you got to be somebody. You got to be confident to take $50 and just drive up to. I wouldn't take $50 and go to Riverhead, let alone take $50 and go to Pennsylvania.
So that's where my a little bit more of my being a Christian comes into play. So thank God that He would get me there. So what do you call it? So I did that and filled up. Eventually got there, pulled into the parking lot of this hotel that I had not booked, but just figured since I'm gonna go do Raw, they'll have a room for me. I park. I get.
Oh yeah, they probably had you on the list, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I walked in, and I'm like, hey. I don't have a reservation. I just need a room. And they were like, okay, they had one, thank God, available. So I was able to go in and I got a room. I slept for like 2 hours, And I had heard horror stories from other people about like catering, like don't go to catering, don't eat beforehand, blah blah blah. So I ate down. I paid some ridiculous amount of money for whatever food was downstairs at the hotel. And Buffalo, I don't know if you guys have ever been to Buffalo, but like it's awful when you so the part
If you're from Buffalo, he didn't mean Buffalo. I'm just totally kidding.
no,
We alienate places all the time.
it's like this. It looked like New York City with no people. You know what I mean? Like there was nothing going on. It was dead, and it was like -10 outside. So it was January. So yeah, so it was like -10. So I the only place I could park was like 2 miles away. Not 2 miles, maybe like 3/4 of a mile away, but it felt like 2 miles because I was walking against the wind. I had to park in this parking garage and walk against the wind to the First Niagara Center, and because they told me I couldn't park with talent, which is funny because as you start to go there more and more, I was like, yeah, okay, screw that, and I parked with talent. Like a few years later when I started doing work more.
Yeah, you're talent at that point. You should absolutely park wherever you want.
And it was so funny because I had like this beat up old like Hyundai Elantra, and I'm like pulling in, and people are like, "Who's this guy?" Like, I just went and parked. People are like, "Come on," like because I had a suit on, so I just was like, "Yeah, I'm good. Don't worry about it."
It's part of the gimmick, man. That's all.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't even know how that car made it to half those things, but so I walked in, and it's crazy because at that point it was 2012, so Rock was the champion. So I walk in backstage. So I'm walking in, right? They give you no credentials. They didn't give me nothing. They didn't even send me an email saying let this guy in, like the security. So it was essentially like you said, it was like being a detective. Now I had to figure out a way to get in without anybody stopping me or getting bothered. If I walk in backstage, those fans are going to dime me out in a heartbeat. Wrestling fans. I mean, being wrestling fans, I'd be like, who are you? Who are you? So you know what I mean? They start chanting at me, who's this freaking guy? I don't let him in, So I walk in backstage and I see it was like Mark Henry and I think like Goldust or something were going in. And I was like, man, I could try to, these guys are huge. I could try to sneak in between them or something. So I had my roller bag, I had my wrestler roller bag. I had my suit on, and I'm like, I go to start walking in and I'm like running through all these things to say in my head to tell the security guard. And he just opens the door. He's like, right this way, sir. I was like, son of a gun. I'm like, all these years, all I had to do was put on a suit and get a roller bag, and I could have got backstage in WWE.
A little bit overthinking that one, huh?
Yeah, right, exactly. So, and I got in, and it was so cool, man. Like the first time you go there, there's the big poster and on an easel, and it's like Vince's office with an arrow and talent with an arrow, and then it was so funny because it had all these different things, right? Like of places to go, catering, whatever, gorilla. And then there at the bottom it was like The Rock with an arrow just pointing. Like he had his own separate entire area.
That was when he came back, right? Was that came back for the Punk promo?
Yeah, it was old school Raw. So it was him.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he was the champ, and it was him and Cena for the first time. They were building up to that, and like Undertaker. I think Undertaker. It was like right before. Was that Undertaker and Hunter?
Yeah, that was 28. They wrestled at 28.
Right? 28. Oh, you're right. 28. That was, yeah.
Yeah, I call him WrestlePedia because there's literally not a professional wrestling question he didn't know. He told me what the dark match was of SummerSlam 92 like 2 weeks ago. That's a shoot. I'm being dead serious. So if there's any question, I go to this guy. So go ahead. Continue. Sorry.
Yeah, that was that. So it was cool. So I get there. I'm trying not to do it like step by step because I'm kind of remembering this. It's weird because this is like something I lived my whole life for, and I'm trying to remember it as I go because like as you start to do these things, you forget. It's weird. You know what I mean? So I go there. I'm nervous as can be, and it was so funny because as the night went on, and or I should say, as I'm walking around, you almost get that instant feel that it's like, this is like no different than an indie show. It's just in an arena. You know what I mean? And all the guys look like wrestlers instead of being an indie show where like 3/4 of the guys don't look like wrestlers.
Yeah, most of them look like me, so that's there.
No, you're bigger than most of them. So I'm walking around. And I find the extra talent, and it's so funny because extra talent locker room is never a locker room, ever. The only time it was a locker room was when I was a Rosebud at Madison Square Garden. They actually put us in an actual locker room.
That's tremendous. Rosebuds get a locker room, and the talent doesn't.
I'm supposed to actually have the network now, by the way, so I can see him.
But yeah. I didn't get one anywhere else but the Garden. The Garden was the only place we got a locker room.
Nice.
I'll tell you the funny story about that, in a little bit. But so my first interaction is with Mark Carano.